I want to talk to you guys today about using your bedtime routine for your homeschool. Now, I know bedtime can sometimes cause stress, especially if you are a parent of younger kids. However, if you are sitting down and reading to your kids before bed, or just praying with them, or talking with them, if you're doing something little like that, I want to talk to you today about how you can kind of take advantage of that time and maybe add some things that you've been wanting to do in your homeschool, but maybe you haven't had the time for. So stick around and listen how we do that here in our house. So this all started for us a few years ago when I wanted to read these novels to my kids, and I was trying to read it during our school day, and it was just like reading to chaos. I'm sitting there on the floor, I'm like, okay guys, listen, and they're playing and they're moving, and you hear things like, it's okay, they're still listening, let them play. But I'm telling you, it was like I'm sitting there reading so loudly, hoping that they're just gonna get this, and it was honestly just not a joyful experience. So I thought to myself, I'm already reading to them at bedtime, reading a picture book or something. Why don't instead I take the novel that I want to read with them and use that at bedtime? So our read aloud for school became our bedtime read aloud. And that was kind of the first application of using bedtime in our homeschool. And that was a few years ago. So we have been reading novels together every night. For several years. And it's been so nice because it doesn't feel like I have to fit something in. We were already reading before bed, and now we were able to kind of check some things off on our school list as well. So that was super helpful for scheduling purposes. And the best part was I was reading to my older kids. And so my little one, it was really hard, my youngest, he would be already in bed. So having that quiet space to read, and there's just something about bedtime too where people kind of get settled. It was so much more doable. So fast forward a couple of years, my kids started having bad dreams. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to teach them this verse to help them realize that they don't have to be afraid. So I taught them a Bible verse before bed, and we would recite it at night before we'd say our prayers and go to bed. And I thought to myself, this is Bible memory. This is like recitation, memorizing scripture. This is genius. I have been wanting to have some type of scripture memorization habit in our homeschool, but I just couldn't figure out where to fit it in. We have a morning time. We have a morning time where we read books together, but I'm a mom of 4. I have a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And I have a couple older ones that can really sit and listen. But my wiggly ones, one good quality picture book, and we're about stretched to our limit. So 20, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and we've got to be done. So I can't be fitting in a whole basket of items in the morning. So by finding this time at night, that was so helpful to me. So that's where the next thing built on. So what I'm going to try and show you in this video is how we kind of started small and we built on it. And now it's just this really good quality time. So we had our read aloud. Then I started adding a Bible verse in, and we really enjoyed it. And I think it really brought like a soothing factor to bedtime, and it really kind of helped with the whole bad dream situation. So I thought to myself, you know what? This is going really well. My kids are enjoying this. What if I change the verse the next month? So that got me thinking, if I can do a Bible verse, what about some other things that I've been wanting to do with my kids that I just haven't found the time to do? One of those is hymns. We had tried doing hymns in the morning, and we really liked it. But once again, I have a hard time sitting for a super long period of time in the morning. They want to get up and move. They want to do things. We tried it in the morning. It didn't really work out. I thought maybe I could bring this hymn thing to bedtime. And I wanted to be careful because I didn't want it to turn into like this 45-minute deal before bed. So I just was like, I think I'm going to teach him the doxology. So one night we said our memory verse, and then I said, hey, I want to share with you this song that I used to sing as a kid, and they loved it. So then we sang that song, and we sang it every night for a few days, and then they had it memorized. And I'm like, this is working. scripture memorization, hymn study, all these things I'm able to do before bed that I haven't been able to fit into our normal school day. This started as kind of something that I just threw together to try out. We started it back before Christmas in December, and then now it's April, so it's been like 4 months, a little over 4 months, and it's created this really cool, meaningful bedtime habit. And I count it as homeschool. I mean, like, this is stuff that I've been wanting to do with my kids for a long time that I just haven't been consistent with. And by putting it before bedtime, we have that consistency. And there's just something so cool about the conversations that we can have in that settling time, where everybody's winding down. We have such good conversations. So I kind of want to give you a closer look at what we're doing. I will tell you that it's probably a 30-minute time period. So this month we are reading My Side of the Mountain. So I usually read about a chapter a night. And this is actually the same novel that my oldest daughter is using for her language arts. So if you aren't familiar about how we do language arts in my house, we make up our own. We do not follow an all-in-one curriculum. So you can see I'm using that bedtime time period to read through this novel that I will be studying with her in our school time. So it's like killing two birds with one stone is kind of a harsh phrase, but like, we're using our time wisely here. If I'm going to read a book, let's read a book that's going to be meaningful to us later in school. So this is what we're reading in the whole, me and all of my girls are reading it together. After we read a chapter, we just read it. We talk about it as we read. I'm not quizzing them, but I think you can just get a lot from conversation. Okay, so after our novel, then we read through the Catechism. Now, this is the Catechism that I grew up with. It's something that I just already had. Some of my kids were asking questions, and I just felt kind of like I wasn't 100% confident answering it. And so I thought, you know what, maybe we can bring this in because this has different questions and answers and scripture references. So like it'll literally have a question and then it has where you can find the answers in scripture. So, it doesn't have to be a specific catechism. It can be whatever catechism you want for your family. This is what we're using right now. And I'm just kind of reading a little bit a day. I mean, sometimes it's like half a page. It takes just 2 minutes, but we've had really good conversations reading through this. Okay, so after the chapter, a little bit of catechism, then we move on to our hymn. This is the book that we're using for our hymns. It's called Then Sings My Soul, and I'll link it for you guys at the bottom, but I already had this on my shelf when we tried hymns in the past. But the way that it's set up is there's a hymn on one side, and then there's some history about the author or just that time period of when it was written on the other side. And there's also a Bible verse up here at the top. So I pick one hymn a month. That when we first start the hymn, I read them this historical piece here, and then I sing them the song. Now, I only pick the songs I know from my childhood. So I grew up in a traditional church, and these are the hymns I sang growing up. And this is one of the reasons I want my kids to learn them, because these hymns bring such a special feeling to my heart. So if I'm not like going through and doing every single one, I go through and I say, oh, I remember that tune. And that's the one I pick for them. So when we run out of hymns, I know we're going to have to come up with a plan B. But for now, I'm just picking the ones that I already know. I'm sure that there's books out there where you could have a CD or something, but I enjoy singing. I enjoy singing with my kids. And so that's kind of just what we're doing. Anyway, okay, one hymn a month. I teach them in words. And then, so that first time, it takes a little bit. But every time after that, it's just, okay, let's sing the hymn. And right now, we're only doing one verse. That's just what feels right. I'm not trying to memorize the whole hymn. We memorize just one verse of that hymn. And so once we get past kind of learning it, then it only takes about 20 seconds to sing a verse from the hymn. So that's easy to fit in. The last thing we do is say our memory verse. And I pick one a month, same thing. Just kind of when I pick a new hymn, I pick a new verse. And I'm so excited to share this with you guys because I just got this sweet little gift from this place called Shop Butter and Honey. And it is a scripture memory box. And I am so glad that she reached out to me because I was literally just thinking to myself, gosh, we've learned like 4 or 5 verses, but if we ever are thinking like, oh, what was that verse? We didn't have like a consistent way of keeping them in our hearts, like practicing with them. And so this company reached out to me and said, hey, I heard you're memorizing scripture, because sometimes I'll share a day in the life or something on Instagram. And she said, I saw that you were doing scripture at bedtime. Do you want to try this? And I was so excited. So now I'm going to show you a little bit about how this works. So as I said, we do 1 memory verse a month. And I teach it to them, and it's just kind of like repeat after me until we get the hang of it, and then we just say it. So once we learn it, after about a week or so, it takes just 30 seconds to do a memory verse. So if you're thinking like this is like a super long time that you don't want to add in, let me briefly recap with you. We read 1 chapter of a book here. Okay, so that takes the longest, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I usually read half a page to a page of our Catechism. That takes a minute or 2, depending on if they have questions. Then we sing a hymn, which takes a minute. Okay, so we're at what, like 23 minutes? And then we say our memory verse. And once we have it memorized, that's just another minute or 2. So it's just really, it seems like a lot of pieces, but it's not that much. So like I said at the beginning of the video, if this is a habit that you already have, or you sit down with your kids before bed, you can take advantage of that time and add in these little things if that interests you. Okay, so let me show you this precious memory box. Okay, so this is the blue one, and I think she has another color, but it just opens like this, and inside are these tabs. And basically, it's planned out so that you know which verse to practice each day. And it has been so fun. My kids love it, and I love it, because every day we're saying different verses. So you have your daily practice, so we're always saying the one we memorized that month. But then there's a system that you can go and practice the verses that you've already memorized. And so every night we're like, okay, which one do we get to pull out today? And it's been so fun. So it comes with this little direction piece that tells you exactly what you need to do. And then it comes with these pretty little cards that you can write the verses on. And I'll show you, I know this is going to be backwards, but I just kind of want to show you the cards. So this is our verse that we're learning this month. And so I wrote the verse down, and then I put it in the daily tab. Now, there's an even and odd tab. There's Sunday through Saturday tab to practice on those certain days of the week. And then there's 1 through 31 to practice on those dates. Now, don't think that's overwhelming. Once you have it in, it's literally just pulling them out and reading them. And I'm going to be honest, we don't have enough Bible verses to fill this up. So we get to, like tonight is Wednesday, and we don't have a verse there, and I promise you my kids are going to be so bummed because they love seeing what comes out and if they can remember it. So it's just been such a treat. I'm so thankful. I'm going to link this shop or the link to this product down here at the bottom in the comments so that you can see, or in the description, excuse me, a little bit more about this. So it has been such a fun addition. And what's great is this is something that we were already doing, and I had a desire to kind of practice what we were doing. And just last night I told my kids, think about all the verses that we're going to know by heart after doing this, because every night we're saying, at this point we're saying about 3, but once we fill it up, it'll be about between 4 and 5 verses a night. And so it's just been really, really fun. And so I'm so grateful for this. It's just a sweet, sweet little addition. And so if you didn't want to do this at bedtime, gosh, this would be so good to do at the breakfast table or at the dinner table with your family, or maybe just a way to start your day, like a little family devotion, something like that. So Definitely check this out. You can see it's really organized and there's room for more. I just saw on her site that she sells more of these really pretty index cards, so you can just keep filling it up however best suits your family. Okay, so that's it. That is how we kind of use our bedtime for our homeschool. These are things that I have always wanted to add in. I've seen people before that sit together at morning time and they do their hymn study and they do their art study and they do all these things. And I don't know if it's me or my kids, but like we just cannot sit down that long. So we have our morning time and we usually spend that time reading our history books. We do American history with picture books and it's so fun. I'll link that down for you here, but that's how we spend our morning time. Sometimes we're also doing some science stuff. So that's really our focus then. And it's about 25 to 30 minutes. That's about all we can do. And then they're like eager to get out. So these are important to me. This kind of stuff is very important. And so it means so much to me that I can now put it before bed and have these conversations with my kids. And it started small. Like, don't think that you have to go and add all these things. For years, I was just reading a novel. So if you're not reading a novel to your kids before bed, maybe that's how you want to start. Or maybe you are already reading a novel or a picture book or something. Maybe now you want to say, hey, let's try adding in a scripture verse before bed and just seeing how it goes. Just test the waters, test something out. This built over time. And once at Christmas time, and when I added in a Bible verse, and once I realized, ooh, this is some quality school time here, sitting with my kids before bed. Once I realized that, I thought, how can I use this wisely? And so that's kind of how these things have been added in. So I hope it was helpful to see all that. I hope I love sharing kind of what we do in our house. I know when I see other people and what they do in their home, it kind of inspires me or gives me ideas or thinks, oh, hey, I can't do that, but I want to do this. So that's always my goal here. So I'd love to chat with you about it. Maybe you do something similar. Reach out to me in the comments or send me a question, and I'd love chatting with you guys.